There have been some incredible new advancements in organ donation, both from animals and growing organs in animals, as well as, growing blood, which has historically been a very difficult thing to do. But I am serious. These things have been tested in humans and even hit stage 3 clinical trials. We may be in a situation where the 100,000 people in the United States who are waiting for an organ could actually get one. Let's start here. One of the issues with growing organs in other animals for humans is that generally the animal cells will overtake the human cells, and it will end up being highly chimeric. You may have some ideas about what a chimera is based in history or perhaps mythology, but when we're talking about it in science, it means two different tissue types from different origins coming together and forming one. But even the same species counts as a chimera. You might have seen a cat like this when two siblings end up fusing into one. This does also happen in people sometimes. So what they managed to do is turn off some of the genes that control for cell-cell adhesion, so cells sticking together to form like skin. This allows the human cells to proliferate and compete less with the animal cells in the embryo. The ultimate result can be growing something like a pig with a human heart that will ultimately go to a human patient. Now, in some circumstances, when there are just no other options, people will get a non-human organ from an animal. And a research group managed to reverse the rejection of that organ not once but twice in a human patient. Now that person was not legally alive. What they did is they managed to track down exactly the antibodies as they were being produced in that person and then deactivate them, meaning this was personalized medicine to that patient. Your body is going to attack something that it does not consider to be self, and those can be neutralized, and that will be different for different individuals. This opens up so many doors to transplants that will not eventually reject. However, this is dependent on very close care from a physician, which leads us into the next study. This group freed patients from rejection altogether. Normally, when somebody receives an organ, unless it's hypothetically from their identical twin, they will have to take anti-rejection medication for their entire lives. Even then, oftentimes people do need repeat transplants. We see that with lung patients in particular. What if they could get that body used to the organ so it wouldn't reject it from the beginning? Now, a lot of different things have been tried, like thymus transplants, and there's some hope for that. This group did bone marrow transplants. So along with the kidney that they received, they also received bone marrow from a living donor. This bone marrow was already familiar with the organ, and it primed the body not to attack itself. This works because bone marrow does make immune cells, so it's already familiar with itself, so you're not going to attack yourself, are you? I mean, there are situations in which your immune system attacks its own bone marrow. That can happen. This all comes together. Researchers have also made great progress in making blood in a lab. Because there are so many different steps that your blood needs to go through in order to become blood, it's very difficult to replicate. However, growing it from the same mechanisms that are used to make, embryos, is really helpful. You can potentially harness the early developmental stages in which your body does make blood to make blood for others. Because it almost entirely relies on donations normally, there is always a shortage. You may have noticed all of the individual flaws in this research, like rejection, or even using bone marrow. What if the body then attacks its own bone marrow? You're kind of in trouble. Which is why you do need situations where you can grow organs, grow blood, you can target specific antibodies when the body starts to reject parts of itself. Many of these are reaching human trials, which means on the horizon, we're going to see cures for things. Maybe not perfect, maybe not all at once, but we're close and we have made a lot of progress. Follow for more.